It is said that long ago, Tianyo continent was formed from the death of an extraterrestrial fiend, slain by the immortal progenitor. There are even rumors that each of the 72 continents in the immortal firmament continent, home to the immortal clan, is actually a massive formation used to suppress 72 extraterrestrial fiends. Similar legends exist even in the 36 counties of the ancient kingdom. However, due to the vast passage of time, few know the truth of these stories. Perhaps only those with a supreme identity, like the Nine Sons, or the royal families of the immortal and ancient clans, could know the truth. For other cultivators, whether the fiends are suppressed or not matters little. They do not feel the presence of these unknown and possibly mythical fiends. The legend of Tianyo continent has passed down through the ages. It is said that the many mountains here are actually transformed from the bones of those fiends. In Tianyo continent, there are two particularly famous sects, the Unity Sect and the Great Soul Sect. These two sects are enormous, controlling much of Tianyo continent, and are part of the 9 sects and 13 schools of the Eastern continent. They each have many disciples, but because Tianyo continent is so vast, almost like dozens of cave mansion realms, it is rare for disciples from different sects to meet. While conflicts do happen, they are few and far between. The Great Soul Sect is particularly mysterious. Its cultivation methods are diverse, but its most important teachings revolve around souls and illusions. Fan Shanming, a disciple of the Great Soul Sect, is known for her powerful illusions, which offer a glimpse into the sect's techniques. It is said that the Great Soul Sect's illusions, when perfected, can manifest in 9 layers, ultimately reaching the terrifying level of illusory reality. As for the Unity Sect, it focuses on the 5 elements art and has a unique skill in armor forging, earning it great renown. Under both the Unity Sect and the Great Soul Sect, there are numerous smaller sects scattered throughout Tianyo continent. These sects are controlled by the Unity and Great Soul sects and are required to offer tribute at regular intervals, much like acts of worship. The Seven Paths sect, founded by the Rainbow Immortal Venerable, was one such smaller sect. Due to its connection with a disciple of the Great Soul Sect, who became a dual cultivation partner, this sect was protected by the Great Soul Sect. Additionally, some of their members were extraordinarily talented, catching the attention of the Great Soul Sect. In recent decades, however, the Unity Sect has grown immensely powerful. A core disciple, Yun Yifeng, emerged from the sect. After being in seclusion for a long time, Yun Yifeng's cultivation reached impressive heights. He challenged several core disciples of the Great Soul Sect and defeated them all. Even ordinary elders from the Great Soul Sect were no match for him. As a result, Yun Yifeng's fame skyrocketed, and he became regarded as the top disciple of the new generation in Tianyo continent. Some even ranked him alongside the 4 great prodigies of the Eastern continent, calling them the 5 peaks. However, Yun Yifeng remained humble. When others compared him to the 4 great prodigies, he would shake his head, not out of self-doubt, but because he had little regard for these so-called prodigies. Over time, during a match between the Unity Sect and the Great Soul Sect 10 years ago, Yun Yifeng swept through the Great Soul Sect's disciples, injuring 9 of them and 3 elders. When someone once again placed him alongside the 4 great prodigies of the Eastern continent, Yun Yifeng said something that shocked all the sects in Tianyo continent. My sword can injure many, even the 4 great prodigies. While victory is not guaranteed, I would not retreat, even 1 step. But there is a cultivator, who has only cultivated for a little over 2,000 years, standing before him. I would not dare to unsheath my sword. Let alone me. Even the 4 great prodigies are unworthy to claim superiority before him. In my eyes, among the new generation of cultivators in this world, none can rival him. These words sent shockwaves throughout Tianyo continent. Everyone who heard them was struck with astonishment, their minds racing with the same thought. Who is this person? Who could make Yun Yifeng say such things and cause him to be afraid to unsheath his sword before them? And to achieve this with only 2,000 years of cultivation? If this is true, then indeed, the so-called 4 great prodigies of the Eastern continent are truly unworthy to be compared to this person. While the words caused an uproar, they were also met with skepticism. However, no one from the Great Soul Sect questioned the claim. It seemed as though the disciples of the Great Soul Sect knew exactly who this person was. This strange development raised the intensity of the uproar to new heights. The silence of the Great Soul Sect suggested that they knew of this person, as if acknowledging his existence. Even within the Unity Sect, there was no protest from the disciples when Yun Yifeng spoke those words, as if they too were aware of this mysterious individual. Who is this person? He will appear, and when he does, you will know. This was the last thing said by Yun Yifeng about this mysterious figure. Though years had passed since, the rumors surrounding this mysterious person had not faded in Tianyou continent. In fact, as the tale spread, they grew even more intense. Yet, this was a question without an answer, and those who knew the answer kept silent. As time passed, the rumors gradually calmed and eventually faded into the hearts of those who had heard them. Perhaps, one day, they would learn who this person truly was. The Canglong Sect was a medium-tier sect within Tianyou continent. Its mountain gate spanned almost half of Kungsu Star Domain. While not as powerful as the Thunder Immortal Palace or the former Cultivation Alliance, it was still a formidable force. However, in the Immortal Firmament continent, it was rather insignificant. The Immortal Firmament continent was said to house 30,000 immortal sects, though the truth of that number was unclear. What was certain was that each sect was vastly different. Despite the name, Canglong Sect, its disciples actually practiced techniques unrelated to dragons. Most disciples of Canglong Sect specialized in mechanical puppetry, using these constructs to assist in their cultivation. Typically, new disciples had to craft their own puppets before they could leave the sect. These puppets varied in rank and power. The best puppets were often made from rare wood, or even the bodies of fierce beasts or cultivators. The technique itself wasn't particularly mysterious, and most sects knew how to craft puppets. But Canglong Sect's mechanical puppetry was unique in that it allowed the puppeteer to merge with the puppet, achieving a state of immortality. It was said that Du Qing, the sect's grand elder and the first to reach the early void tribulation stage, was a wooden puppet himself. Though he appeared human at first glance, his true form was revealed when he used his divine powers. Canglong Sect had a fearsome reputation on Tianyou continent, with its disciples often resorting to various methods, including murder and theft, to obtain what they needed. However, due to the deep connections between Du Qing and the Great Soul Sect, few dared to challenge them. The sect would carefully choose its targets. If someone was too troublesome to deal with, they would avoid them. Most of their attacks were aimed at foreign cultivators passing through Tianyou, who made for the easiest prey. Many of Canglong Sect's disciples traveled the continent, gathering information and returning it to the sect. If they encountered an enemy too powerful to handle alone, they would often summon their fellow disciples to overwhelm the foe. Kong Run, a third-generation disciple of Canglong Sect, was known for his cunning and cruelty. He was feared by his peers and highly regarded by the sect for his sharp instincts, which allowed him to quickly determine whether someone could be targeted without bringing trouble to the sect. With a handsome, scholarly appearance, Kong Ren hardly seemed the type to be vicious, yet even second-generation disciples were hesitant to cross him. One day, as Kong Ren flew through the sky, his eyes narrowed as he made his way toward the edge of Tianyou continent, hoping to encounter foreign cultivators. Suddenly, the sky in the distance began to distort. A rift appeared in the sky, and a flickering, eerie light emerged from within. A figure flew out, carrying a coffin on its back, and swiftly fell toward the ground. The entire event unfolded in an instant. Almost as soon as the figure emerged, the rift vanished, as if it had never been there at all. This sudden occurrence left Kong Ren stunned. He rubbed his eyes, unsure if he was seeing things. After glancing at the spot where the rift had appeared, he briefly wondered if it had all been an illusion. But soon, excitement bubbled within him. His eyes shone with eagerness, and his body swayed as he rushed toward the place where the figure with the coffin had fallen. Something's strange, something's wrong. There's a treasure. Kong Ren's heart raced. The Canglong Sect was founded by Du Qing, who had left a rule at the sect's inception. 3 things: strange, wrong, treasure. For many years, every disciple of Canglong Sect had memorized these words and treated them as sacred. Anything strange must have something wrong with it, and where there's something wrong, there's always treasure. Kong Ren gathered his speed, cautiously activating his magical artifact for protection, and dashed off like a long rainbow. Soon, a dull, thunderous boom sounded ahead of him. He saw the figure with the coffin crash into a mountain peak. The mountain collapsed under the impact, and among the debris, a motionless young man with white hair was revealed. Such a powerful physical body. Kong Ren's eyes gleamed with greed as he cautiously approached. He stared at Wang Lin, lying motionless, unable to hide his excitement and greed. A physique this tough is extremely rare, except in the ancient kingdom. Looking at him, there's no star point in his forehead, so he should not be one of the ancient gods known for their strength. Plus, there's no distinct aura of the ancient clan on him, so he's likely not from the ancient kingdom's cultivation. To possess such a strong body as a cultivator, how did he achieve this? Kong Ren licked his lips, his heart racing. He felt as though his opportunity had arrived. This was a gift from the heavens. He never expected that just flying through the sky would bring such a fortunate encounter right before him. His aura has completely dissipated. He's in a semi-death state, just perfect for me to use in puppet refinement. With such a puppet, I could easily sweep through the second-generation disciples of the Canglong Sect. And if the ancestor values me and takes me in as a disciple, my rise will be unstoppable. As Kong Ren thought of this, his expression grew more and more excited. But despite his excitement, he remained cautious. He stopped several dozen yards from Wang Lin, ready to flee and call for his sect brothers if anything went wrong. After all, if he couldn't handle this alone, reporting it to the sect would still count as a great achievement. Raising his right hand, he formed a seal, causing a crack to appear on his wrist, from which a dark jade slip flew out. As soon as the slip appeared, a violent aura subtly spread from it. Without hesitation, Kong Ren tossed the jade slip forward. It turned into a beam of dark light, heading straight for Wang Lin. With a thunderous boom, the impact sent shockwaves through the ground, shaking the earth. In the midst of this blast, Kong Ren was sent tumbling backward for hundreds of yards. His excitement grew stronger. He didn't fight back. He's either dead or unconscious. Kong Ren laughed loudly, seizing the opportunity and moving swiftly toward Wang Lin. Although the jade slip's explosion had immense power, it couldn't even scratch Wang Lin. In fact, with the jade slip's power only reaching nirvana, even 100 of them couldn't shake Wang Lin's body. As for the heavenly protection coffin Wang Lin carried on his back, it remained one with his aura. Not only could Kong Ren not harm it, but even cultivators at the level of several tribulations would struggle to do so. When Kong Ren reached Wang Lin's side, his eyes suddenly fixed on the heavenly protection coffin. He noticed the woman sleeping inside. While she wasn't breathtakingly beautiful, the sight of her peaceful slumber filled Kong Ren's eyes with a sinister gleam. Haha, I didn't notice earlier, but there's a female cultivator here too. Excellent. I'll turn her into a puppet as well. From now on, she'll serve me, Kong Ren. What a delightful thought. Kong Ren licked his lips, his hands forming another seal as he pointed to the sky. At once, a crack appeared on his right wrist, and a massive net shimmered out from it, enveloping Wang Lin and the coffin, trapping them both. With a swift flick of his sleeve, Kong Ren transformed into a black whirlwind, carrying the fortune he thought he had obtained, and flew off into the distance. This is a huge win. Haha, the heavens have eyes and want to grant me this great fortune. As Kong Ren sped through the air, his mind raced with thoughts of returning to his sect to refine his puppets. The Canglong Sect's mountain gate was located deep within a mountain range, shrouded in poisonous miasma, with several massive valleys carved into the peaks. The sect had hollowed out the nearby mountains, creating countless stone chambers as disciples' abodes. The endless mountain peaks stretched far into the distance, making it hard to see the boundary with the naked eye. Nearly 50,000 disciples lived here, though most were out on missions or in secluded meditation. They rarely encountered one another, except during the annual sect assembly. Kong Ren became a streak of light, flying toward the mountain gate. Though the poisonous miasma was deadly, it avoided him as if sensing some protective item he carried. Entering the miasma, he soon spotted a massive valley in the distance, its many pavilions just barely visible. Just as he was about to enter the valley, a low shout suddenly rang out from within. Who dares enter the valley? State your name. If you don't respond within 3 breaths, you'll bear the consequences. Su Yun, what do you mean by this? Kong Ren's eyes flashed with cold light as he halted just outside the valley, shouting into the mist. Oh, it's junior brother Kong. The mist is thick, I couldn't see clearly. Weren't you out on a mission? How have you returned so soon? And what is this you've captured with the puppet net? The voice responded slowly, and a hunchbacked youth emerged from the valley. The youth was extraordinarily handsome, though his hunchback disrupted the effect, giving him an oddly mismatched appearance. You're meddling too much. Kong Ren snorted coldly, his body swaying as he shot toward the valley, disappearing in an instant. The hunchbacked young man's eyes glinted with malice as he watched Kong Ren's retreating figure, and he sneered. Something's off, something strange, there's a treasure, he murmured, his body flickering as he left behind a puppet to take his turn. His true form soared toward the valley. Meanwhile, Kong Ren transformed into a streak of light, racing through the valley. He headed straight for a nearby mountain peak that had been hollowed out. In a flash, he approached and entered a cave mansion. As soon as he stepped inside, he swung his left hand behind him. The cave door slowly closed, and a restriction seal activated, reinforcing its strength. Still, he wasn't fully at ease. With another wave of his hand, 9 puppets of varying ages appeared, all standing guard at the door. At the same time, 2 pitch-black wooden figures also stirred inside the cave. The moment Kong Ren entered, a faint glow emerged from their sculpted eyes. Kong Ren didn't even spare them a glance, swiftly walking between the 2 wooden figures toward the depths of the cave. Above him, a fist-sized night pearl cast a soft glow, dimly lighting the cave, though the light wasn't strong enough, leaving the place feeling somewhat shadowy. On the ground, there was a formation about 10 yards wide, emitting waves of purple energy under the glow of the night pearl. The energy swirled around the formation, giving it a mysterious, almost eerie appearance. Next to the formation, Kong Ren waved his right hand, and immediately, Wang Lin, whom he had brought here, fell into the formation. Rubbing his hands excitedly, Kong Ren sat cross-legged nearby, his eyes gleaming as he stared at the fog that surrounded the formation. I need to refine this quickly. Su Yun is cunning. If he sees that I've brought back a puppet, who knows what he might think? Kong Ren raised his right hand, and immediately, materials for crafting puppets from the Canglong Sect flew out, heading straight for the formation. At the same time, he made a hand seal with his left, slamming it down on the formation. The formation immediately rumbled to life, spinning and pulling in a burst of earth fire from deep underground, flooding the entire cave with scorching heat. The heat wave hit Kong Ren's body, causing sweat to pour down his forehead. Every time I refine a puppet, I need earth fire. The temperature of this earth fire is too high. Only those with fire origin can withstand it, and even use it for cultivation. Kong Ren's eyes shone with longing. Maybe one day, I too can become a great power. He accelerated the extraction of the earth fire, enduring the heat as he began the refining process. He tossed material after material into the formation, his face filled with excitement. No matter who you were before, once you fall into my hands, you'll become my puppet. I'll refine you. I will refine you for sure. As the formation roared and spun, outside the cave, atop another mountain peak in the valley, the hunchbacked young man stood respectfully in front of a white-haired elder. The elder's face was a striking purple-black, contrasting sharply with his white hair. A fluctuation of cultivation at the early void nirvana stage radiated from his body. This is a trivial matter, yet you come to disturb me in seclusion, while Kong Ren may have personal grudges with you. The elder was speaking when suddenly his gaze shifted, his eyes seeming to pierce through the cave, locating Kong Ren's position. He sensed the rumbling from the formation, indicating the refining of the puppet. Master, the puppet that Kong Ren brought back is definitely suspicious. He rarely acts so hastily. I've known him since childhood, and there's something wrong here. That puppet is probably a treasure. I asked Master to step in and take it, and grant it to me. The hunchbacked young man immediately knelt and spoke in a low voice. The elder kept his gaze fixed on the distance for a long time. Finally, his pupils constricted, and he rose to his feet. Seeing the elder stand, the hunchbacked young man immediately showed joy. Extracting so much earth fire definitely raises some flags. Fine, you'll come with me. Let's see what kind of puppet he's refining. The elder waved his sleeve and left the cave, while the hunchbacked young man followed eagerly. Back inside the cave, Kong Rin was drenched in sweat, but his expression was even more excited. No longer sitting cross-legged, he moved around the formation, continuously casting hand seals and tossing more materials in. His eyes sparkled with increasing fervor. This time, I'm using all the materials. Once this puppet is refined. Haha. Kong Rin had completely forgotten everything else, his pace quickening as he moved. Inside the formation's mist, Wang Lin, lying within, was surrounded by earth fire as though he were burning. But the flames did not harm him at all. Instead, they seemed to excite him, continually entering his body. Just then, Wang Lin's eyes suddenly opened. The moment his eyes opened, the ink totem on his right arm, formed by the mosquito beast, also opened its eyes. Within the Mosquito King's gaze, a terrifying and sinister intent radiated. This was the first time he truly saw the immortal firmament continent with his own eyes, and it was also the first time he experienced the aura of the immortal firmament while waking up. As soon as he regained consciousness, Wang Lin immediately checked the sky barrier coffin behind him. Once he confirmed there was no issue, he felt relieved and turned his attention to the earth fire beside him. A mere earth fire could not burn Wang Lin. How could it dare to burn him? The earth fire drawn out had no real impact on Wang Lin. After all, he already possessed the fire origin. Not only did the earth fire fail to harm him, but its presence actually accelerated his awakening. Furthermore, because this earth fire was from the immortal firmament continent, it caused a stunning transformation when it merged with the fire origin that Wang Lin had cultivated in the abode realm. This transformation was something never before seen on the immortal firmament continent. It was a battle between the foreign flames and the fire origin naturally born from the immortal firmament. If the fire origin of the immortal firmament continent won, Wang Lin's internal fire origin would be devoured and assimilated into the continent's flame. Wang Lin's cultivation would not change, and he would still have the fire origin, but he could never control the heavenly fire, as the immortal firmament would become its master. However, if Wang Lin won, his fire origin would surpass the immortal firmament continent, and he would become the true king of fire. Wang Lin's eyes glinted as he looked at the mist swirling above him. He could sense a weak cultivator circling around him, continuously tossing unfamiliar objects into the air. These items accelerated the fire's burning and triggered the formation beneath him. Strange forces emanated from the formation, seemingly trying to enter his body and undergo a series of transformations. With his mental acuity, Wang Lin quickly deduced what had happened, even though he had been unconscious and unaware of the events before. While I was unconscious, this person must have found me and brought me here for refining. Based on the appearance of this formation, it seems related to puppetry. Are they trying to turn me into a puppet? A cold light flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. Back in the abode realm, no one dared to attempt turning him into a puppet. Not even figures like the Palm Sovereign would dare to do so, out of deep caution. Although this formation had some profound aspects, Wang Lin paid it little mind. He was not interested in studying it right now. His focus was on the earth fire. Ignoring the excited figure of Kong Rin outside, still unaware that Wang Lin had awakened, Wang Lin spread his divine sense and sent it underground, following the direction of the earth fire to its source. He wanted to understand where this earth fire came from and how it compared to his fire origin from the immortal firmament. As his divine sense expanded, Wang Lin's eyes gleamed with an odd light. He saw that beneath every mountain within tens of thousands of miles, there was a vast expanse of earth fire. The mountains where he stood were part of a branch of the earth fire vein. This branch seemed large, but it was actually thin, connecting to the main vein that descended into the earth, leading to an unknown location. Wang Lin expanded his divine sense even further and was shocked to discover that the area beneath him was crisscrossed with countless earth fire veins. The deeper he went, the hotter the earth fire became. This earth fire vein looks like a massive fire formation. Wang Lin retracted his divine sense. He had just awakened and was still unfamiliar with his surroundings, so now was not the right time to probe deeper. Though it's not the right time to explore further, I can draw out more earth fire to refine and nourish my fire origin. Wang Lin pondered briefly and then gently slapped the formation's ground. At the moment of impact, the entire Canglong Sect shook violently. The earth fire from the surrounding mountains, as if stimulated, surged in from all directions, rushing into Kong Ren's cave abode. The sudden change left Kong Ren, who was still inscribing seals, stunned. He screamed and quickly retreated, forming protective seals with his hands and summoning 9 puppets and 2 wooden figures to block the outbursting flames. In the instant Kong Ren retreated, the formation rumbled, and a sea of flames erupted, forming a massive pillar of fire that consumed the mist, blocking all vision, and began to burn wildly. The cave abode clearly couldn't withstand the flames. Cracks began to appear, threatening to collapse. The 9 puppets before Kong Ren exploded instantly when engulfed by the flames, and the 2 wooden figures shattered without any resistance. Kong Ren's scalp prickled, his eyes filled with horrified despair. As the scorching flames surged toward him, like the jaws of death about to swallow him whole, a strange glimmer of light suddenly shot out from within the fire. It fell directly upon Kong Ren, wrapping around his entire body. The blazing heat waves roared past him, yet caused him no harm. Even so, that brush with death left Kong Ren sprawled weakly on the ground. He stared blankly at the cave mansion now engulfed in flames, his heart overwhelmed with terror. What kind of person have I brought back? At that very moment, outside Kong Ren's cave mansion, Su Yun and his master arrived. Just as they drew close, the white-haired elder's expression abruptly changed. He hastily retreated, dragging his disciple with him, retreating several hundred zhang in an instant. Almost simultaneously, the gate of Kong Ren's cave mansion collapsed with a thunderous crash. A violent wave of heat burst forth, sweeping across the surroundings. In the blink of an eye, the entire valley's pavilions were reduced to ash, swallowed by a raging sea of fire. The surrounding peaks quivered as the earth fire surged violently, as though on the verge of a massive eruption. The sudden upheaval shocked all disciples of the Canglong Sect. Faces drained of color, they rushed out of their cave mansions one after another, rising into the sky, staring in horror at the inferno below. The ancestor is away. Why would the earth fire mutate at such a time? Su Yun's master muttered darkly, his gaze fixed on the sea of flames, particularly the section where Kong Ren's cave mansion had once stood. Just then, 3 formidable auras erupted from within the Canglong Sect. They condensed into 3 figures who appeared beside Su Yun's master. 2 men and 1 woman. 2 of them white-haired elders, the third a middle-aged man. Waves of power from the 3rd step radiated from their bodies. Their cultivation was extraordinary, especially the middle-aged man, whose aura had already reached the late ethereal stage. Upon appearing, he tilted his head back and let out a resonant shout. Disciples of the Canglong Sect, hear my command. The earth fire undergoes its mutation once every 10,000 years. This time it has come early. Do not panic. Quickly arrange the heavenly water formation. His words boomed like thunder, echoing across tens of thousands of li. The disciples, shaken to their core, instinctively sat cross-legged in midair. With rapid hand seals, streams of misty vapor rose from their bodies. Tens of thousands of disciples worked in unison, weaving a grand formation at lightning speed. The array erupted with a deafening roar. From afar, it resembled an immense black storm cloud spanning tens of thousands of li, heavy and oppressive, suspended in the heavens. Within it were gathered the countless disciples of the Canglong Sect. At the same time, the 2 other 3rd step elders, excluding the middle-aged man and Su Yun's master, did not wait for instructions. Stepping forward, the white-haired man and woman leapt directly into the storm cloud. With earth-shaking roars, their forms transformed into 2 colossal dragons. Each dragon stretched for tens of thousands of zhang, weaving through the clouds. Moments later, they thrust their massive heads outward, opening their maws toward the blazing mountains below. At once, heaven and earth rumbled as torrential rain poured down. From the dragons' mouths erupted torrents of mist and vapor, surging downward like a gale pressing upon the land. Elderly, you were the first to arrive. What in the heavens happened here? The middle-aged man's expression darkened as he spoke, his eyes never leaving the raging sea of flames. The earth fire mutates only once every 10,000 years. By all rights, it should not occur for another 3,000. For it to erupt early, something must have triggered it. The middle-aged man's gaze shifted away from the white-haired elder, falling briefly upon a hunchbacked youth. At that glance, the youth's body trembled, nearly collapsing under the pressure. Elder Zhao, if this is not a natural mutation, then it may well be tied to a third-generation disciple, Kong Ren. This boy brought back 2 corpses of unknown origin, and it was during his attempt at puppet refinement that the mutation began. The white-haired elder pointed toward Kong Ren's burning cave mansion amid the flames. Kong Ren. The middle-aged man frowned, struggling to recall the name. The sect master and the ancestor are away at the Great Soul Sect. I've already sent a jade slip. They should be on their way back. But since this chaos may have been caused by the corpses Kong Ren dragged back, this old man will go see for myself. I want to know what sort of power those bodies possess to stir up such a calamity. The middle-aged man's eyes flashed with killing intent. The eruption of earth fire had caught the Canglong Sect completely unprepared. Though no lives were lost, many buildings were destroyed, countless immortal herbs incinerated, and precious sect stores obliterated. The price was far too great. As he spoke, the middle-aged man's body flickered. Mist surged from his form, coalescing into a massive water bubble 3 zhang wide that encased him completely. With powerful strides, he plunged straight into the fiery earth below, heading directly for the mountain peak, where Kong Ren's cave mansion burned. The entrance of the cave mansion had long collapsed, leaving no obstacles in its way. In an instant, the middle-aged man dashed inside, his speed deceptive, masking a deep-seated caution. After all, he found the situation rather peculiar. Nevertheless, he didn't dwell on it too much. He was quite proud of his cultivation level. As he stepped into the cave, he immediately spotted a young man dressed in the robes of the Canglong Sect within. The young man's expression was vacant. He trembled with fear, his eyes wide as he stared at a column of flames erupting from deep within the cave. He was already a third-step great power, having achieved primal origin and reached the late ethereal stage. Within the Canglong Sect, he ranked just below the highest authority, even among the strongest in the entire Heavenly Bull continent. In that moment, glancing at the flame, he vaguely saw the silhouette of a figure seated cross-legged, engulfed in fire, with a coffin on his back. A chilling aura emanated from this figure, reverberating through the middle-aged man's mind. What kind of corpse is this? The man's expression darkened, casting a fierce glance at the terrified Kong Ren beside him. He snorted coldly and stepped toward the fire column. Confident in his profound cultivation, he sensed no overwhelming presence from the figure seated in meditation, prompting him to stride directly toward the flames. He was close enough to the fire that with each step, he approached its edge. The bubbles in front of him touched the flames, creating a series of popping sounds as the flames retreated, seeming to part for the middle-aged man. Who dares to infiltrate my Canglong Sect? If I don't turn you into a puppet, won't it be a joke for the cultivators of Heavenly Bull continent? As he took another step, half of his body entered the flames, which roared vigorously around him, yet failed to break through the protective barrier of bubbles surrounding him. But in that instant, Wang Lin, seated with his eyes closed, suddenly opened them. 2 piercing glints shot forth, and at the moment his eyes met the middle-aged man's gaze, the man's expression changed dramatically as he sensed a terrifying aura that made him tremble, emanating suddenly from the seated figure with white hair. The strength of this aura was earth-shattering, making the middle-aged man feel no more significant than a firefly under the full moon, as if he would be burned away. In fear, he faltered in his steps. "Get out!" Wang Lin's cold voice echoed, and with a wave of his right hand, the air within the cave seemed to plunge into winter. Outside the cave, the gusts of wind howled relentlessly, and the falling rain appeared as though it would freeze. The fiery sea on the ground dimmed, as if struggling to be extinguished. The middle-aged man felt an even stronger chill grip him, his entire being turned cold. As Wang Lin waved his hand, the bubbles surrounding him cracked sharply and crumbled into fragments, causing his complexion to go pale. Blood spurted from his mouth, and terror mixed with disbelief shone in his eyes. His body betrayed him, feeling as if 100,000 mountains crashed down at the command of Wang Lin's hand. He stumbled back several steps, spitting blood once more, his body like a kite severed from its string, swept out of the cave. Before the eyes of the multitude of cultivators gathered outside, he was hurled away, spewing a third mouthful of blood, and crashed to a stop over 1,000 feet away, his face ashen, terror unbearable to describe. "Who are you?" the middle-aged man screamed, his voice shrill. This sudden scene left the surrounding Canglong Sect cultivators in shock, and even caused the two elder serpents emerging from the mist to tremble. Most notably, Su Yun's master, the elder with white hair, widened his eyes in disbelief. Who was in that cave? Even Elder Zhao, with his late ethereal stage cultivation, managed to be thrown back and heavily wounded in an instant. Silence. Among the commotion, Wang Lin's indifferent voice came from within the cave. As that sound reverberated, the surroundings fell silent. Even the rain that had poured from the sky seemed to momentarily halt, suspended in midair. Witnessing this scene, especially the rain that would not fall, the white-haired elder revealed an expression of terror. A statement manifesting rules, everything is still. This is a display of a cultivation level that has reached the profound void, perhaps even beyond. Who is this person? What kind of individual has Kong Ren brought back? Such cultivation would stand out even in Heavenly Bull Continent. Impossible to be nameless. Inside the cave, Kong Ren was at the peak of despair, having witnessed the esteemed Elder Zhao being driven back with a single utterance, spurting blood before the flames. Seeing that, and recalling the eruption of flames earlier, he knew he had caused great misfortune. This is not mere fate. This is an ancestral being. Within the flames, Wang Lin closed his eyes once again. His spiritual sense had already spread out and swept across the surroundings during the eruption of the earth fire, and there was no one here he felt worthy of his attention. However, he understood that this was the immortal firmament continent, a land brimming with powerful figures. He had overheard voices from outside, indicating that the sect master and the ancestor were both away, but were now on their way back. Despite the vast expanse of this land, even a third-step great power would find it difficult to arrive here in a short period of time. Even if they merged with the heavens, the immortal firmament continent might be different from the abode realm in this regard. Wang Lin had sensed this when he first awakened. At this moment, the earth fire surrounded his body, continuously merging into him and being refined, nourishing his fire origin. After a brief moment of contemplation, Wang Lin raised his right hand and made a grasping motion toward the empty space outside the flames. Immediately, Kong Ren, who had been trapped in the cave and unable to escape, turned into a streak of light and was pulled into the fire. Wang Lin seized him by the neck. His cold gaze fell upon Kong Ren. When Kong Ren's eyes met Wang Lin's, his mind immediately erupted with a deafening roar, as though struck by 10,000 heavenly thunderbolts, leaving him with no strength to resist. His body trembled, and his gaze toward Wang Lin was filled with despair. F4. Senior, please spare me. Wang Lin ignored Kong Ren's pleas. His spiritual sense shot out from his right hand and directly entered Kong Ren's consciousness, sweeping through his memories. After finding the necessary information, he casually waved his hand, tossing Kong Ren out of the flames and trapping him again. The sect master in the early profound void stage, the ancestor in the early void tribulation stage, Du Qing. Wang Lin's brows furrowed. He wasn't concerned about the early profound void stage, but the early void tribulation stage posed a bit of a challenge. The storage dimension is inconvenient to open, and there could be accidents. This would prevent me from retrieving my magical artifacts, and the EC puppet can't be summoned either. This makes it difficult to face a void tribulation cultivator. As Wang Lin pondered, large amounts of earth fire were absorbed into his body, transforming into flame power that nourished his origin, making his fire origin even stronger. Forget it. I'll leave here and find a place to study the issue of the storage dimension. Also, there seems to be some changes and differences with the other origins here that I need to get accustomed to. Wang Lin's eyes flashed with determination. He had only just arrived at the immortal firmament continent and wasn't fully familiar with it yet. True to his nature, he didn't want to be overly arrogant. Having made up his mind, he formed hand seals and waved upward. The ground trembled violently once again, and more earth fire erupted from deep beneath the earth, engulfing the entire cave and even spilling outward. This scene was witnessed by everyone outside, especially the middle-aged man. His cultivation had reached an extraordinary level, and his intelligence was keen. At a glance, he immediately understood what was happening. He's trying to escape. The middle-aged man's face darkened. Although the earlier scene had terrified him, what he feared more was the wrath that would erupt if the ancestor returned. When the ancestor was angry, he could even turn someone into a wooden puppet. The middle-aged man had witnessed this before and feared the ancestor deeply. Before the ancestor returns, we must not let him escape. If he escapes, I cannot bear the fury of the ancestor. With this thought, the middle-aged man gritted his teeth and immediately roared. Li Chantian, Sun Mingda, Han Xian, this person must not escape. Otherwise, you know the consequences when the ancestor's wrath comes. All Canglong Sect disciples withdraw from the heavenly water formation and perform the Tao chanting art. The middle-aged man suppressed his injuries and charged forward. Behind him, the white-haired elder's expression changed, and he gritted his teeth as he followed. At the same time, two dragons twisted in the clouds above the sky, transforming into a man and a woman. The moment they thought of the ancestors' terrifying power, they immediately unleashed all their cultivation and transformed into two streaks of light, heading straight toward the cave below. The four elders of the Canglong Sect, all third-step great powers, moved together to stop Wang Lin from escaping. The thousands of Canglong Sect cultivators in the sky, upon the middle-aged man's command, gave up the heavenly water formation. With hand seals formed, they began chanting the Tao chanting art in unison. Their voices merged into one, creating a strange force that reverberated through the world. The Tao chanting art was a divine ability of the Great Soul Sect. The Canglong Sect ancestor had a deep connection with the Great Soul Sect and had been granted this divine art, making it a vital part of their sect's formations. If one listened closely, they could discern that the words spoken by the thousands of cultivators were only two characters: Tao and Soul. Tao Soul. Soul Tao? Tao Soul. This sound enveloped the earth below and reached the cave. Wang Lin's ears immediately rang with a deep disturbance. It was as if a force was entering his body, melting his Tao thoughts and attempting to separate his soul. This sensation immediately made Wang Lin feel agitated. His eyes flashed, and with a cold snort, he stood up and stepped outside. The moment his foot landed, he imitated the sound of thunder from the ancient burial ground, and a deafening roar erupted. The pounding heartbeat sounded from within his body, growing louder and more intense, until it blended together into a thunderous roar, like the rumbling of a storm. This noise clashed directly with the Tao chanting art coming from outside. At the same time, as the four elders charged into the cave mansion, preparing to seal the area and prevent his escape, Wang Lin raised his right hand and reached out into the empty void of the earth. His expression twisted into one of fierce determination. Whip, Earth Fire Vein Soul.